Alton Towers is a special kind of place. It's a park full of mystery, magic and monstrous ambition, with a bar set so high that the neighbours complain they can see it from their back garden. And along with their already epic catalogue of unique rides and roller coasters lies many projects which unfortunately never saw the light of day, and these are exactly what we're going to check out. So with that, you're watching ScrewyLoops, and these are the cancelled rides and roller coasters of Alton Towers. The 1991 Custom Schwarzkopf, 1991. I'm sure many of us remember Thunderloop, the infamous Schwarzkopf shuttle loop coaster which opened back in 1990. This was sadly met with an early demise in 1996 as it was a little bit too noisy for the local residents. So noisy in fact that the sound emitted from Thunderloop had caused cows to mate at the wrong time of year, filthy beggars. Now what if I told you there was originally another Schwarzkopf coaster planned for the 1991 season? Did you know that? Because I didn't. The park was owned by John Broome at the time and he was looking to build the next big thing. With the park's past relationship with Schwarzkopf, it only seemed appropriate for Broome to approach the company for their upcoming project. Designed was a lengthy custom layout, taking inspiration from Liseberg Banana. How do you even say that? Another coaster which opened a few years prior in the Swedish theme park Liseberg. It would have been a standard sit-down coaster featuring no inversions, but instead boasting one of the longest layouts to ever exist on a steel coaster at that time. In an ambitious leap, the coaster would have contained a total of 3 lift hills, allowing for several trains to simultaneously traverse the layout. Broome had the idea of enabling the trains to duel, essentially throwing a racing style element into the mix. The coaster would have been located pretty much where 13 sits today, using the dense woodland to its advantage. Looking at the layout, I would have much preferred something like this to be in its place. It is littered with helixes and its sprawling length would make for a worthwhile experience. It would have also been family friendly without sacrificing the thrills, which is something 13 fails to succeed in personally. Unfortunately, this project fell just around the same time as Schwarzkopf went into liquidation. Not only that, it was also the time Alton Towers were acquired by Two Swords, which would further throw a spanner into the works. The final nail in the coffin came from John Wardley, who straight out cancelled the project indefinitely. He stated that it would have been an operational disaster due to the whole self-dueling trains idea. Ironically, John Wardley revived the self-dueling aspect on a more recent project, the Smiler, and it was all made possible thanks to modern technology. Even though the cancellation of the 1991 Custom Schwarzkopf guts me to the ends of the earth, it also led to an exciting creative direction within the park. Secret Weapon 1 and 2, 1991 to 1993. Here it is guys, this is where it all began. Little did they know the legacy which would evolve through the Secret Weapon project, with many popular attractions such as Nemesis, the Smiler and Wicker Man serving with this exact same moniker. The Secret Weapon was the start of something special, and arguably the reason why Alton Towers is at the top of the game when it comes to the UK roller coaster scene. The project came around at a time when pressures were placed on the park to, let's say, please the local residents. Stricter planning restrictions were implemented which prevented Towers from building anything above tree height, as well as anything that caused an absolute racket. You bloody party animals, you. Before any initial plans were brought to the table, Towers had already decided to blast the living daylights out of Thunder Valley, which is better known today as Forbidden Valley. They did this by using good old fashioned TNT, as the basalt rock sitting beneath the soil proved to be a tough cookie to cut. Most of the broken rock was recycled and used to landscape parts of Katanga Canyon. With the big gaping hole in the earth now set, it was time for the park to design their next big attraction. This time the park approached aerodynamics where they were on a brand new prototype model, the Pipeline Coaster. Themed to a secret military facility, Secret Weapon 1 would have fit snugly into the amended landscape with just a few setbacks. It was only going to be 980 feet long. Yep, just 980 feet, which would have made their brand new thrill machine 20 feet shorter than the runaway mine train. If this was to happen today, the backlash from us theme park fanboys would have been devastating to say the least. We are a bunch of savages. The project was put on hold for 12 months due to financial and technical issues, later being revived as Secret Weapon 2. Fortunately, the project was soon cancelled after John Wardley tested out the prototype created by Aerodynamics, labelling it as slow, boring and inefficient. Thank you John, as it looked absolutely shambolic, sorry Arrow. It was made to look even worse knowing that the replacement project was Secret Weapon 3, the much loved B&M inverted coaster Nemesis, which truly put Alton Towers on the map. Good call with that one guys. The Cross Valley Woodie coaster, 2003. By far the most infamous of all the cancelled projects, the Cross Valley Woodie coaster is still something fans are crying out for even today. Crying so much in fact, their fanboyish tears diluted the Nemesis Blood River to a stream of crushed open sadness. Make it red again, please. After the opening of world's first B&M flying coaster Air in 2002, all eyes were on Alton Towers to see what they would do next. It was clear to see that John Wardley was feeling very ballsy at this moment of time, drawing up plans for what would have been an absolute mammoth of a coaster. These original plans for Secret Weapon 6 would have consisted of a large wooden coaster stretching from Ugland, now Dark Forest, all the way to the bottom end of Forbidden Valley, which would have essentially made it the first roller coaster at Alton Towers to span over multiple lands. Beast. Not only that, the layout would have boasted two of the largest drops on any wooden coaster in the world, both exceeding 200 feet. This would have been made possible by constructing these drops into the woodland valley between these two areas, essentially keeping the track below tree height at all times. Riders would have experienced speeds of over 70 miles per hour as the trains plummeted through the dense forest before ascending to the other side. Atop the valley, the layout would have resembled something of a smaller scale Woodie before switching back by air and entering a second lift hill, again bringing the riders to a second 200 foot plus drop. Seriously guys, why can't we ever have good things in the UK? Although no manufacturer was revealed for this project, it was likely going to be Intamin. The trains were going to hold 5 cars, with each car holding 6 riders, and it was even said that the trains would be running along a steel track as a means for noise prevention. The fact markings were found across the ground and many of the trees really goes to show how close this project was to actually happening, but unfortunately planning permission was declined, with fears that the noise pollution and height of the attraction would have been too much to contain. Even though the Cross Valley Woodie coaster was axed, they were still pushing for a wooden coaster to be built in the park, with more plans popping up over the years. In the end, we did finally get our Woodie in 2018, albeit on a much smaller scale, but Wicker Man proved to be quite a hit regardless. A Balloon with a View, 2003. Why this was even considered in the first place, I will never know, because you can't even build a tree above tree height without the neighbour's trees complaining, so stick that in your tree and smoke it. After the removal of Dynamo in 2003, Alton Towers applied to install a hot air balloon ride within the park. It would have been located snugly into Forbidden Valley, right where Nemesis Flop Terror sits now, RIP. Or more recently Project 42, which is actually pretty decent to be fair. Unsurprisingly, the project was quickly declined, maybe due to the fact it wouldn't just be above tree height, but several thousand feet above tree height. How could they have seen this as a good idea? Undeniably, I'm pretty sure the views would have been nothing short of breathtaking. The rolling emerald green hills of Staffordshire and rural beauty of Alton would have made for an exceptional sight, and the raging echoes of angry locals would have sounded beautiful from up above. Vekoma Boostera Coaster, 2004. Quick disclaimer, I had to question the legitimacy of the following plans as nothing was submitted onto the planning application website. However, the plans and idea were too interesting not to include, so I thought it would be worth talking about in this video. And also the following plans are used with permission from towerstimes.co.uk, so thank you very much guys, you have been a massive help. And make sure to check out their website in the description below. Yeah. So around 2004, plans allegedly dropped for a Vekoma Boostera Coaster, which would have been located within the Gloomywood area besides a pathway towards Forbidden Valley. Interestingly, the trains would have been themed to broomsticks rather than bikes, which is quite frankly genius, and the entire attraction would have had the old witchcraft style aesthetic. Now obviously not much else was known about this project, it could have been a complete hoax, but you can't knock the adventurous approach in design regardless of its genuinity. Layout wise, it probably wouldn't have offered much more than the other booster bikes out there, however the potential for an exciting theme wouldn't have gone amiss. Vertigo, 2006. Believe it or not, Vertigo is the closest project to actually seeing the light of day. In fact, let me correct myself, it did see the light of day, and then realised life's an attraction wasn't what it's built up to be, penultimately becoming depressed and fading into the dark obscurity. Yes, so Vertigo was a zipline which was sat atop the great almighty towers of Alton Towers, and zip riders from the rooftop all the way down to the lawns nearby Towers Street. It opened briefly during an event called the PlayStation Weekender, and even appeared on the park map that season, even though it opened for like 2 days. Just want to say I can't imagine how fantastic those throughputs would have been, clocking in at a grand spanking 8 people per hour, the perfect definition of a queue line eater if it was trying to eat a concrete slab. I think the biggest make or break was that it was ruining the iconic view of the towers. I mean, there's nothing worse than the sound of screaming chavs gliding above your head as you dig into your treasured picnic baskets, so maybe that's why the attraction got axed. Project Dolphin around 2006. Project Dolphin was another ambitious idea which made a splash during the mid-noughties. Being the UK's answer to Discovery Cove, this project would have revolved around immersive theming and once-in-a-lifetime experiences, such as swimming with fish. Yeah. This was yet again planned to be located where Coaster Corner once was and where the world of David Walliams resides now. Other plans showed that the old ice theatre was going to be transformed into a temple-like setting too. In the end, this was again scrapped and somewhat revived in the wake of Sea Life's Sharkbait Reef in 2009. Dark Forest Concepts 2008. Boy, the 2000s were full of weird and wacky ideas, with some of these concepts being amongst the absolute goddamn strangest. So back in 2008, Alton Towers were planning on retheming either X Sector or Gland into the eventual Dark Forest. Amongst this were some pretty obtuse designs. Let's take a look, shall we? So first we have the Switch Track and Tilt Coaster, which is probably the closest these designs get to what was actually built. 13. Using both Animal Kingdom's Expedition Everest and Discovery World's Gravity Max as conceptual examples. On another design we have what appears to be a suspended motorbike style coaster, very odd, and what appears to be a backwards Oblivion, which is incredibly terrifying to imagine. This design is actually a mock-up for a vertical launch coaster, taking inspiration from Wicked at Lagoon Amusement Park. There was also a really cool Roboarm flat ride concept too, which is shown off in multiple environments, and a dueling Dead Stars flat ride, which would have ended up in X Sector if they decided to re-theme there. Maybe this is something the park will revisit in the future, who knows. Enchanted Village expansion 2018. And finally, in 2018, plans were submitted for an Enchanted Village expansion consisting of 102 accommodation pods with shower and toilet facilities, which we all know was reworked into the new for 2019 Stargazing pods. And that is everything I know. Many thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see me cover the cancelled rides and roller coasters of another park, make sure to hit that like button, smash subscribe, flick the bell, and let me know which park in the comments below. Top left is the latest video, bottom left is a random one, and make sure to hit that button over on the right for the ride of your lives. You've been watching ScrewyLoops, try a bit,